We've been shifting our NFL draft focus now. We started this offseason by focusing in on the quarterbacks, and whether it's been Tua or Burrow or Jake Fromm or all kinds of guys, Nate Stanley. Today, we're going to go out to Colorado, and we've been talking with different beat writers that cover these teams and cover these quarterbacks. And as we know, the Dolphins are starved for one. Brian Howell works for the Boulder Daily Camera. You can follow him on Twitter at BrianHowell33, and he covers Steven Montez. That'll be another quarterback that is headed into the NFL draft of 2020. Let's bring Brian on. Brian, good afternoon, my man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Excellent, my man. The first question I have for you is not Montez or draft related. How many papers do we have left in this country called Daily Camera?
Boy, there's got to be no more than a couple.
Right?
I mean, this might be it. I don't know.
Yeah, I figured there can't be too many that are called the Daily Camera. I love it, man.
There's not too many papers left in general.
That's true, actually. That is true, my brother, unfortunately, which
it is unfortunate.
For us old guys, I love my paper, man. I miss my paper, dude. It's just it's almost like having to get used to the online stuff. I kind of look forward to my fingers being dirty. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that, bro.
I like that. It's old school.
Yeah, old school. That's hell, I started doing fantasy sports by waiting for the Tuesday paper that had all the stats from the weekend so we can get, all the totals together. Then type up the fantasy newsletter. So yes, that was the days.
I like it. I did that back in the day as well.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Brian, let's talk a little Steven Montez. First of all, your experience covering the young man, going through ups and downs, how has he handled it? What kind of a leader is he? How do guys gravitate to him in that locker room?
He's a I covered him his whole 5 years here at Colorado, and first off, there's not many guys that are at college for 5 years these days, but he was there all 5 years, and I watched him grow quite a bit. I mean, one of the knocks on him early in his career that he was not a good leader, but he became a good leader, was named a captain in his senior year, and really just kind of grew up. I mean, I think like a lot of us do in the college years, he grew up. And, I think most people want their quarterback to be, mature and grown up as soon as they start playing, but there's not a lot of guys that do that. And I think he definitely grew up, got more mature. And by his senior year, he's a lot more mature, a better leader. Really had a good focus on life and on football and everything like that. So I saw him grow quite a bit off the field, actually.
In 2018, he wasn't voted a captain. Why wasn't he voted a captain in 2018?
Well, I think that they had a number of good captains, good seniors on that team, and he was a junior. There wasn't a whole. Really, in college history, there hasn't been a whole lot of junior quarterbacks voted captains, and I think that that was one of the knocks on him was that he wasn't voted captain, and I think that he still needed some growing to do a little bit, and he became that better leader in that last year.
Yeah, it's interesting how maturity is one of those things. We hear it a lot with Justin Herbert. That maturity has been an issue with him too, and he had to do a little growing up, and obviously with Steven Montez, a little bit of that, But I hear character-wise, work ethic, all that kind of stuff. He's all about that now. That's kind of who he is now, right? That's kind of the example he sets, is what I'm told.
Yeah, he is. And those were things he had to learn. Going through the college experience was that he came from El Paso, Texas, where it's not a real football hotbed, and he was a big star down in El Paso. In fact, he's still revered down there. He was a big star. He kind of relied on his talent. He was bigger and faster and stronger. He kind of relied on that and kind of thought he could get away with that here. And it took him a little bit to learn that he actually had to work. And so once he started putting that work in, he got a lot better. And the strength and conditioning coach here got on him quite a bit, maybe more so than anybody, because you need your quarterback to be that leader. But he's a big-time competitor. The head coach, first-year head coach at Colorado, Mel Tucker, he constantly praised Steven Montez's competitiveness and said, you want your quarterback to be the number one competitor on your team, and I think we have that with Steven Montez. So I think he grew up quite a bit in that regard and became a much better worker throughout his career.
Buffs beat writer Brian Howell joining us here from the Boulder Daily Camera. And, of course, you can follow him on Twitter at Brian Howell 33. We're talking about Steven Montez, the quarterback out of Colorado. You look overall at his game. Let's talk a little bit about his game. The arm talent. It looks like he's got the arm talent that can make pretty much any throw you need in the NFL. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing, a coach that's been around him, and he's had a number of position coaches throughout his career at Colorado, but every one of them, they haven't seen a whole lot of guys with his type of arm talent. I mean, he throws the ball hard. He can throw it far and deep, and but he can make those short throws as well. So he can definitely make all the throws.
All right, so talk to me a little bit about accuracy, because that's the stuff that I hear that he struggles with at times. Where does he struggle with the accuracy?
Well, I think a lot of times it's that decision making, which is still a growing part of his game, and a lot of times it's making the right decision. And when he does make the right decision, he'll make a good, strong, accurate throw. And sometimes it's just not making that decision quickly enough, or just making the right decision. And so that's kind of where the accuracy comes into play. There were a number of drops at times, but I think every quarterback deals with that. And so for him, it's really just about making that right decision and being comfortable with what he's doing.
One of the things that I hear about him is ball placement. Not just accuracy, but he struggles with ball placement. Guys aren't always running in stride with him. They sometimes have to stop. They have to turn around. It's not exactly where it needs to be. Has he gotten better in that? Where is he in that department?
Still something he's got to work on. I mean, that's something that there's a couple of receivers throughout his career that got hit hard a few times because of where he placed the ball. Guys that had to maybe stretch out and reach for a ball because it wasn't put out exactly where it needed to be. I think that's something he's still got to work on. That it certainly can hurt him in the NFL if you're trying to fit that ball into tight windows and you can't. He's a guy that I think is accurate most of the time, but he does struggle at times with that ball placement. And luckily he's had some good receivers that have made some catches for him. But he's got to place that ball better than he has.
How about pocket awareness, Brian? That's the other thing that I hear that he struggles a little bit with back there, feeling the rush and trying and manipulating that pocket and learning how to buy himself that extra half a second, that he kind of struggles with that. Is that accurate or not?
Yes, and I think that he got better at that. I think one thing with him is he never had a great offensive line at Colorado, and so he got hit quite a bit. He got sacked quite a bit. He got hit. And I think he got a little gun shy at times. And, I think he got better at it. And by the end of his senior year, he would stay in the pocket a little bit longer. But that's one of the biggest knocks on him is that he would bail out too early sometimes and, maybe miss a throw or miss an open receiver because of that. And so his pocket awareness, I think, has grown a little bit, but it certainly needs to get better.
He has a tendency, too, from what I hear, that he'll run – and when he's on the run, he's not really thinking of passing nearly as much. Is he not a great passer on the run? Does he not have confidence throwing on the run? What have you seen in the 5 years?
Actually, I think he's really good at throwing on the run. I mean, okay. I think he's made a lot of plays throwing on the run, and he did that several times this year where he scrambled around quite a bit and kept his eyes down the field. He got much better at that this year than in the past. That was one thing that, I think last year, 2 years ago, he would have just taken off and ran. But this year, he made some plays where he kept his eyes down the field and was able to find an open receiver and make something happen. So I think that's a skill of his that he's developing.
And, we're talking with Brian Howell, of course, beat writer who covers the Colorado Buffaloes, and Steven Montez. What is his moment? What is the moment that Buff fans remember him for and say, this guy was a hell of a quarterback for us? Can you describe that game?
Well, I think unfortunately for Buff fans, one of the knocks on him is that he didn't get a whole lot better. And statistically, you look at that, and his moment was really the first start of his career back in the 2016 season when he went out to Oregon, and that ended up being not a very good Ducks team, but went out to Oregon and beat the Ducks in his first career start as he was filling in for an injured starter, and he went out there and had over 300 yards passing, over 100 yards rushing, and really had a great game against the Ducks, and that was kind of his biggest moment. But he had a couple moments throughout his career, later in his career as well. I mean, he beat Nebraska a couple late game finishes against Nebraska last year and this year, so he had some good moments. There just weren't as many as Buff fans thought they were going to see once they saw that first start.
Where do you think he ends up, Brian? Because he looks like a third-day guy to me, maybe a fifth-rounder, seventh-rounder, somewhere in that area, because he's kind of a project. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's probably a third-day guy. I do think he gets drafted, but because I think that teams will fall in love with his arm talent and just his overall size and ability. I think they're going to like him in interviews as well. He's a very personable kid as well, so I think they're going to like him in the draft, and he's a project for somebody. I think that'd be a great stuff for him. Get into the NFL and get in a situation where maybe he can be on a practice squad or just be a third string type of guy where he can learn for a couple of years.
Well, when you see what kind of is he a guy that could play spread? Is he a guy that is more of a pro style guy? What do you see him translating to?
I think he can play anything. I mean, he played in a couple different offenses here at Colorado, and he had 3 offensive coordinators the last 3 years, and 3 different offenses, 3 different position coaches. So he's versatile in that regard. This year they ran more of a pro set, and he struggled a little bit with that because it was so much different from what they'd run the previous 2 years. But I think that as he gets more into an offense, he'll be able to really focus in on that and get better at it. But I think that he can play more pro. He can play some spread. He can do whatever.
Is he headed for a postseason bowl game?
He is. He's going to the Senior Bowl.
Oh, okay, good. I'll see him there in 2 weeks. Are you headed out there? Are you going to cover it?
No, I won't be there, but I'll be watching and seeing how he does, and I'm hoping that he does pretty well down there.
Yeah, we'll be out there for the week broadcasting out there. It's our 21st year going to the Senior Bowl, so we're looking forward to it. We'll see Steven Montez out there. Listen, Brian, thank you very much for taking some time to talk a little bit about Steven Montez, because down here in South Florida, the fans are starving since some dude named Marino retired. You know what I'm saying? It's been a while.
Yeah, I hear you, and they're starving in Denver since some guy named Elway. Well, really since some guy named Manning retired, they've been starving quite a bit, other than those Manning years, since the Elway retired.
Yeah, so but in Colorado, it's a little different. You guys are constantly starving because you're smoking a lot of weed, so you got the munchies out there. So that's really what's going on there. That's right. Let's be honest now. We know why you're starving.
It's a little different here, I guess.
No doubt. By the way, I was at Red Rocks a couple months ago. Man, that place is heaven. Oh, that place is heaven. That is so awesome.
It's a pretty cool place, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, man. I went to see Greta Van Fleet. It was in September when I went there to see him back-to-back nights, and that was absolutely awesome, my friend. Brian, thank you for taking some time, man. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Have a great day.
You got it, baby. Be good. There you go. Brian Howell from the Bowler Daily Camera. I got it. How many do you think?
Millennials have no concept of the conversation regarding camera,
Newspaper? Oh, yeah. No, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's like Daily Camera or Telegraph, right? That's like.
Telegraph.
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably overseas newspapers have more telegraphs. England or something like. But here, I don't even know if we have a telegraph anymore. There's got to be one somewhere.
Some little small town
right
that loves their nostalgia.
Yeah.
They're all about history. It might be somewhere in Gettysburg, somewhere Pennsylvania, one of those.
For sure. I could see that. But Daily Camera, wow, that is just absolutely fantastic, man.
Amazingly enough, there are some places in the country that embrace the past, that love the history.
Yes. No, I'm with you there. No doubt. And that's where, going back to this quarterback talk here, here's where this becomes an interesting process, because you've got to now figure out, okay, who's the franchise guy? Okay, Burrow and Tua look like franchise guys. Burrow is your healthy franchise guy. Tua is your risk. And then you go to the next level, and then you start talking about Justin Herbert, that he physically has the tools, but mentally you don't know if he can put it all together and be that guy, because he really hasn't put it together in Oregon. You know? I mean, the championship game, they were all talking about, well, you see, he showed you what kind of an athlete. No, dude, I wanted him to show me what kind of a quarterback he is. Not that because they wanted to beat him, they beat him with his legs and running. I don't want to see that. He's not Lamar. He's going to die out there trying to run in the NFL. They're going to clobber his ass like they do to Josh Allen. Josh's big ass can't avoid people. Yeah, he can run, but they'll catch up to him, and they usually catch up and hit him hard. You know, so then you start, these are the levels. You got to figure out, okay, Burrow and Tua are one level. Then is Herbert and Jordan Love and those kind of guys, Jake Fromm, another level? And then you go to the next level, that is like a Nate Stanley type. And then I think you go to the other level, which is like a Steven Montez type. It all depends. And that's kind of the triggers to all of this. To steal a word from Spo, right? Because he's always using that word trigger, right? That this play and this one had, certain triggers to it and would lead to a couple of other plays, but our players chose to go this level, but they could have gone to 3 other levels with 3 other triggers and all that stuff. So now you got to figure out as a GM, what are the risks you're going to take? The Joe Burrow kid, you would trade up for him, you would draft him top 5, all that stuff. Tua, you take him if he's there for you at top 5, top 10, top 15, but you're not going to trade up for him. And then you start to the next level and you start going, well, where's Justin Herbert now then? How far does he fall off those top 2? Which I think there's a major drop-off, actually, from those 2 guys to Justin Herbert. But then you've got to figure out, okay, where does Nathan Stanley rank? Where does Anthony Gordon from Washington State rank? It's another kid that's got a lot of talent. Montez. I'm not a Shea Patterson guy. I would put Shea Patterson down where Steven Montez would be. So they're going to be layers of quarterbacks, not just the rankings overall. It's layers, because the first layer is the layer that you think doesn't need anything more than experience, which is Joe Burrow and Tua. Then the next layer is the guy that you think you might have to work on his mental makeup. You might have to work on some of the physical things because they fall short in certain areas. And Justin Herbert may fall short in the mental area, right? Whereas Jalen Hurts may struggle physically to do certain things that you want him to do as a drop-back passer. It's going to be interesting to see how the Dolphins look at this quarterback position and how they break it down. And what is their priorities in all of this, right? Because, yes, the priority number 1 is to get a quarterback. But what kind of quarterback are you getting? Are you getting one that's close to ready-made? Are you getting one that has a couple holes in them? Or are you getting one that's a complete, total project? That, yes, the good Lord gave him ability, but that's where it ends. Mentally, he's not there. Physically, he's not there. You got to teach him how to stand properly, throw properly, read, all of those things. And then that's why you're drafting him late as hell. Like Montez is a guy that physically has all the tools you need to be an NFL quarterback. But then when he plays the game, you're like, whoa, ball placement, whoa, accuracy, whoa, pocket awareness. When you heard him describe him, when you heard the reporter describe him, tell me you didn't think Tannehill, right? Especially when he said, well, some of the receivers here have, taken some shots and even gotten hurt at times because of where he put the ball. And you're like, oh, that's Tannehill. That's Tannehill. That's Tannehill. That's Tannehill. And those are the things that you have to deal with. And you don't know how long it's going to last. He may never fix it. He could figure it out. You don't know. But that's why I even told you before the interview that Montez is not one of those guys that I'm looking at like Nate Stanley is. Like, I don't mind taking a gamble on Nate Stanley in the third round because he might turn into something. If he fails, I don't care. Anthony Gordon's got some skills that, you know what? I'll take a chance. Like Jarrett Stidham. I like Jarrett Stidham from Auburn last year. Now, is he a finished product? Not even close. But he's got every skill set you need to be a pro quarterback, and the Patriots did a smart job adding him to the roster.
Obviously, because of the number of picks we have, we don't need to go to like this Montez level risk.
No, I wouldn't go there.
Because of the number that we have, we should be able to get
Stanley.
More solid, right?
Yes, I would get a Stanley. I would get an Anthony Gordon before I get him. I would definitely get a Jordan Love. You know what I mean? I'm looking forward to him.
You're thinking that kid's going to slip up into the first round.
Yeah, unfortunately. He's going to climb. We'll see. We'll see now. You'll get to watch him in the Senior Bowl.
Right.
If he stinks it out, then, he'll be where he was going to be. But if he rocks it out that week, then
his stock is going to skyrocket.
See, the problem with Jordan Love is it's not that it's a problem, but it becomes a problem for you, for me, for NFL teams. His talent's intoxicating. That's where Jordan Love, it's like, whoa, okay. He's a solid athlete. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Russell Wilson. He's not really special, but he's good enough that you're like, okay, he can run around. And then he makes some throws that sometimes you're like, holy crap. Now, he'll make a couple throws that'll leave you scratching your head too because he's raw still. But, man, it's just, and Nate Stanley's like that too. Not as much. Put Jordan Love a little bit ahead of Nate Stanley, but I like Nate Stanley too. He's another guy that has potential to develop into a starting quarterback. Will he become one? I don't know. But if you take him in the third round and fail, I'm good with that. Okay? Hey, listen. This is something fresh and new for us Dolphins. A front office that is aggressively going after quarterbacks. Okay? They just traded for one this past offseason, and they're going to draft another one, maybe even two. I don't know. We'll find out. But I like the fact that they're going after quarterbacks in consecutive years. Because that's what I've wanted for 20 years. For 20 years, I've been saying, just get a quarterback every year, man. I don't care if one's in the first round, the next one next year's in the fourth round, another one's in the fifth, and you come back in the second. I don't care. Eventually, you'll find one. You'll get one from the Arena League. You'll find one from the CFL. You'll find one bagging groceries. One will drop out of the draft. Whatever. Quarterbacks are found all over. Keep looking. Keep searching. The Raiders one year found one from a guy that was in the league for years in Rich Gannon. Couldn't find his way in Minnesota. Couldn't find his way in Kansas City. We'd have fun. We'd call him Cannon Gannon because he had a cannon, but he had no idea what he was doing. And then all of a sudden he goes to Oakland, and that West Coast-style offensive passing game somehow or another clicked, and he became an MVP. He went from erratic backup with a lot of talent to MVP. So you can find a quarterback. You just have to work at it. But what you cannot be is passive. And that's what the Dolphins have been for 20 years. Passive, not aggressive. And if they were aggressive, Miami would have already had a quarterback. I don't care if you failed 5 or 6 times. Keep failing. Eventually, dude, you're going to hit one. It's going to happen. Everybody finds one. That's part of the cycle.
In the history, most of the better teams in the league constantly have quarterbacks. You look at Kurt Warner, Trent Green, Favre, and how he was Steve Young, Montana. Most of the better teams, I mean,
Brady, they don't stop getting quarterbacks.
Dallas back in the day went from Roger Staubach to punter Danny White, and he had them in the playoffs and NFC championships and stuff.
I always tell the story
You know?
of Ron Wolf in Green Bay, one offseason, had Favre, Aaron Brooks, Mark Brunell, and some guy they cut named Kurt Warner, who then went on to the Arena League and then found his way to St. Louis. But that one offseason. And then you know what he did, right? He traded Mark Brunell to Jacksonville. He traded Aaron Brooks to New Orleans. They both started. Mark Brunell was really successful. Aaron Brooks had some success. Little story for you. Aaron Brooks suffers a shoulder injury. He needs surgery. Years later, they run into another quarterback that had the same surgery, Drew Brees. That's why they were comfortable going with Drew Brees. Anyway, going back to this, Aaron Brooks gets traded to New Orleans, and Brunell gets traded to Jacksonville. Brunell ends up taking Jacksonville to an AFC championship game. You know what they did after that? You know what Ron Wolf does? He goes and drafts Matt Hasselbeck and then gets Miami and Seattle in a bidding war for the 6th-rounder and gets a 1st-rounder for him. Miami wants that, offered a second. Wouldn't go any higher. Seattle offered the 1st. They got Matt Hasselbeck, became an all-pro quarterback for them. Took him to a Super Bowl, right?
Super Bowl. They lost to Pittsburgh.
Right. Super Bowl. That was Ron Wolf. Ron Wolf never stopped taking quarterbacks. And then Ted Thompson took over and did the same thing. And he drafted Brian Brom, and he drafted Flynn, and he drafted Rodgers, and he had Favre, but he kept drafting quarterbacks. And Tom Brady's been there, and we've watched Jacoby Brissett and Matt Castle and Garoppolo and Ryan Mallett. They don't stop taking quarterbacks, and now they got my boy also. They've taken 2 of my boys. They took Garoppolo a few years back, and now they took Jarrett Stidham. Those are 2 of my boys. And just because you have a quarterback, we used to say when Shula, like, dude, when are you getting the guy? Because, Marino was getting up there, and we kept asking, like, when, and they never got him. And then Shula's run ended, and then Jimmy, wanted to get rid of Marino, but Huizinga didn't, but then he couldn't actually draft a guy. He had John Dutton that he drafted. He traded for the knucklehead from San Francisco. What's his name? The Virginia Tech quarterback. Really, really dumb guy. Wow. He looked dumb as bricks. I forgot his name now. And I'm forgetting. He had an arm, dude. He had a cannon. Now, he had no idea what to do with the cannon. But I forgot his name now. But they drafted him like in the 2nd round, and he was a failure. I think it was. I forgot his name.
You know what you notice about a lot of the players that you mentioned? They didn't stick with that team, but that team ended up trading them, and they've got higher draft picks
most of the time
than what they drafted.
Yes.
So this piece ends up, regardless
one
of
way or another, it pays off.
Something comes down the pike, and you benefit.
That's why I said you draft 2 quarterbacks. If you draft Tua, draft a 2nd quarterback this year, and have 3 young guys with fits, you don't have 53 people you're going to keep. Okay, if you were loaded and you were Super Bowl ready, and oh my God, we can't give up that extra space to a rookie quarterback that we're not going to. No. In Miami's case, you can carry 4 quarterbacks and have 3 that you're grooming and working and all that good stuff. So do that if you can. Let's see. This idiot knows nothing. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, Big O, I'm glad to be listening to you from Tegucigalpas, Honduras. Wow, Tegucigalpas. We're done. Jalen Hurts land, Big O. Well, where does Jalen? I have no idea. As long as it's not a Dolphin uniform, I don't care. Jalen Hurts is a nice kid, not an NFL quarterback. Wonder if these quarterbacks are better than last year's class. Only time answers that, my friend. And last year's class is not fair to measure either. Because if you were measuring last year, you measured Gesicki differently last year than you do this year, right? So you got to give people some time to develop. One guy says, Brown needs therapy. Amen to that, dude. Armed Ape says music business is just as bad. Used to be worse than radio. Only worse than radio is the newspaper business because it's disappearing and dying. The radio business is just crap because it's just, too few companies own all the stations, and they've ruined them. And they've got really stupid people running them. Like locally here with Intercom. I mean, they've got some real morons running the place. So, that's why you got crap radio. And that's why our downloads explode more and more every day, and we get more and more downloads, more and more listeners to our show and we thank Intercom for that, for creating crappy local radio. Thank you. We appreciate it, dude. Keep eliminating local radio. Only that company would syndicate a local show on 2 stations. Think about that. You know how stupid that is? Put on an opposite show so you can generate more revenue. I get it if it was a Howard Stern, Neil Rogers type, and you wanted to syndicate it because it meant something, that's fine. But unless you're producing millions and millions of dollars, why would you do that? Stupid company.
Go to look to grab another portion of the market.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You put 2 women on or put something that's opposite. No, you simulcast the same show in the same market. Do you know how incredibly stupid that is?
No thought.
Nothing.
No, nothing.
Nothing. Well, they don't even have money to finish the building off. If something breaks in the building, they don't have a part to replace it. Yeah. They moved in because their stock went from $15 to like $3 or $4. I mean, they're going to go into bankruptcy eventually. They bought all these stations. They have no idea that's what this business is. But the beauty now is the world of on demand. The Seth Rogans of the world, right? Not Seth Rogen. What is it? What's his name?
Seth Rogen's the actor, man.
No, he's got a name like that, but he's got the biggest podcast out there. Not Seth Rogen. What's his name? He's really good, man. I'm forgetting his name, but that's what it is now. It's all about podcasting and all that stuff. You guys are running out of patience listening to radio stations now. You don't want to hear, it's a 7-8 minute segment and then a 7-minute break and an 8-minute break. And it's like, doesn't make any sense. So you end up with 30 minutes of talk in an hour and 30 minutes of break. So that's why it's dying. That's why the podcasts are blowing up. Joe Rogan. Thank you. Thank you, Armed Ape. Oh, Armed Ape, you are all over it today, dude. You are active as hell in there. So, yes. And Joe Rogan's excellent. He does an excellent job. But that's where we're going because you guys go home, and I do too. It's Netflix and it's Prime and all that good stuff. And your music is the same way, and people are doing that with their talk now. They're going on demand instead. It's a lot better, And we could even get a little crazier on this show. We could start, dropping F-bombs and all. We're not doing that because we got sponsors, and we want everybody to be able to listen. I want the guy with his kids in the car to be able to listen. I mean, not that we're going to be straight PG all the time, but we're not going to go to, strict R and, borderline X or anything like that. That we're not going to do. Let me see what we got here. Man, that is stupid. I have not listened to radio. I forgot when I stopped listening. Well, there you go. Thank you, Myron. Appreciate you. Ty from the Bronx, Big O. Can you talk about the Dolphins' need for linebackers? Druckenmiller. Thank you. That's it. Jim Druckenmiller. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That guy looked like he didn't have an IQ more than 5. I'm telling you. That was just crazy. It was, I'm telling you, when they traded for him and we were talking to him, I'm like, wow. You're putting your hopes in that guy? Man, come on, Jimmy. Really? That guy? No. You're not really doing that.
He went somewhere after the Dolphins, didn't he?
No, I don't think so. I think they cut him, and I think he was done. I think so. Maybe you're right. Maybe he went somewhere. I think they cut him and he was done. You can check it out. He might have had a cup of coffee somewhere, but they probably cut him right away too. Seriously. No, I'm telling you, Bill. Just talking to him, forget about the fact that he couldn't play either. Okay? But just like
you hand him the playbook, it's big, and he goes, "Man, you got something smaller."
yeah, you there was no way. I mean, just a short conversation with the guy right away, I was like, no. We can't be serious, right? You really did not think that this guy is going to come in and, yeah, that's how bad it was. Yeah, that was one of those where I was scratching my head on that one. Like, wow. Because all I knew about him at Va-Tech was he played pretty well at Va-Tech. And he had a gun. Hey, he was a big dude. Big dude, cannon of an arm. And that's all you knew. But, this was so long ago, and I was younger then, and I've learned over the years that arm means nothing. Because I watched Jeff George, who had one of the 3 greatest arms I have ever seen in my life. And I wouldn't want Jeff George quarterbacking my high school team. Okay? Why? Because he didn't have the ticker you needed for that. And as for your linebacker question, they need a linebacker, but not a ton of them. Because I like what I've seen from Jerome. I like what I've seen from Raekwon McMillan. He improved this year. So you've got some guys to build on.
Baker.
And Baker. Yeah, Baker and McMillan. Those guys did all right this year. So I think you're not that bad right now at linebacker. But what you need is a werewolf. You need the outside guy that goes after the quarterback. That's the linebacker that you're talking about there. They've got the other guys that maybe can cover, that can stop the run, those kind of things. They need the werewolf. That's probably what you're talking about.
After us, Jim Druckenmiller went to the Los Angeles Avengers, then Memphis Maniacs, then the Indianapolis Colts. That's where I remember him. I think he came into a game, a Monday night game, something like that. And, it was like, I don't know why he came. He's back in the NFL. He needs to be back where he was.
Yeah. Oh, man, he's bad. It was bad. That was just one. And what were those leagues? Arena? What was it? What the hell was those leagues? What were those names again?
They were Arena League. Yeah, Los Angeles Avengers.
That's an Arena League. And what was the other one?
Memphis Maniacs.
Okay, yeah. No XFL. I don't even know if the XFL was around then. I doubt it. It was only 1 year. I don't know what year or what. No, it wasn't that long ago. That was before the XFL had their run.
The Memphis Maniacs.
I don't know if I could call it a run 1 year.
Was an American football team based in Memphis, Tennessee. The team was part of the XFL, begun by Vince McMahon.
I have the XFL helmet collection from the first go around.
Memphis Maniacs. Wasn't that the He Hate Me guy? Was it Memphis?
I'm not sure now. I don't know which one he was in.
You know what? The best XFL.
He just died, right?
No, really.
Yeah, dude. Rod Smart. I want to say he passed away in the last year.
Wow.
I want to say, yeah.
I will say
pretty
this.
Young guy. Think about it.
Yes, for sure. I mean, that was back early 2000s, 2003, 2004, somewhere around there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That opening play, putting the ball on the 50 and having the guys run, and whoever got it, that you win the toss.
Yeah, that guy.
That was a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, but the first guy blew out his shoulder, if you remember.
It's a rough sport, man.
Yeah, he blew out his shoulder on that. It was like
the coin toss is blowing out a guy's shoulder.
Oh, wait a minute. I killed him, but he's still alive, apparently, according to Rod Smart here. Professional football player, played at Western Kentucky, San Diego Chargers. Oh, no, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, no, it is He Hate Me, yes. Yeah, he's a Lakeland kid. Lakeland, Florida. He's 42. He's still living. So, sorry. I almost killed you. Maybe he got in trouble.
I wonder if he played for the Optimist team up there, the Lakeland Lumberjacks.
I don't know. I have no idea. Let me see if I put...
They have some decent football in the home of Publix.
Let me see if I put He Hate Me News and see if that's what it was. Oh, okay. Oh, that. Okay. All right. I was wrong, but now I know why I said that stupid thing. The best-known player of the short-lived XFL, who gained fame with his nickname He Hate Me, has been found safe after he went missing for nearly a week in South Carolina. Lancaster County Sheriff's deputies asked for the public to help find Torald Rod Smart, 42, who was seen last week on Wednesday. The sheriff's office confirmed later Tuesday evening that Smart had been found and that he is safe. No other information was given on Smart's condition. He was last seen in Indian Land in South Carolina behind the wheel of his 2016 Nissan Maxima with North Carolina plates. It's unusual for him to be out of touch for this long, according to a sheriff's department. Before he was located, Mr. Smart's family is worried about his safety and well-being. From 01 to 05, Smart played 5 seasons as a backup running back for the Eagles and the Carolina Panthers. His greatest fame came in early 2001 while playing in the one and only season of the XFL, the heavily hyped league, who was a brainchild of the World Wrestling Entertainment ringleader, Vince McMahon. There you go. Okay? And
we were so fantasy crazy. Do you remember us even
playing we played
fantasy,
XFL. Yeah, we played XFL fantasy that year. I remember that. For sure I remember that. Definitely. I've played fantasy MLS, bro. I've played it all. It doesn't matter to me. Let's see. He played for the Las Vegas Outlaws. Okay? There you go. Then he played for the Edmonton Eskimos, then went to the Eagles. He did start with the Chargers in 2000. Then went to the Outlaws in 2001 and Eskimos in 2001 and Eagles in 2001. Then Carolina Panthers from 02 to 05. Then the Raiders in 06 and Tennessee in 08. So he tried, man. He did a lot better than I ever would.
He played for 7-8 years. Yeah, I mean, man. Professional football,
It's pretty good.
It's not bad, man.
That's excellent.
The average career is what? If you get a career, it's 3 or 4 years.
More importantly, he made an impact in the pop culture world because He Hate Me is something that you will never forget. As long as you live that era, of course. If you're a youngin' and you have no idea and you weren't around for the XFL, and you won't know that. But anybody that lived just the XFL, the one player you know is He Hate Me. That's the one guy you know. Seriously. So you did that like you could actually tell people, yeah, I'm He Hate Me, and oh, you're that guy. You're gonna know. That's it. That's the guy.
So he goes around bars and gets free drinks, right?
Yeah. What was the? I'm at the Las Vegas, thinking of the Las Vegas Outlaws. I'm at the Las Vegas Football Classic. Okay. It's a off-season bowl game, like East-West, the NFLPA senior, that kind of stuff. So they've got 2 teams. And what's the name of the Brandon Jacobs. Brandon Jacobs was playing for Southern Illinois. Okay, and he was in that game. And in that game, the coach on one side, you're not supposed to blitz in these games. So in that game, the coach on the other side, the defensive coordinator, started blitzing. And it's against rules to blitz because that puts everybody at risk and even more injuries and all that stuff. And they kind of want to keep it straight up football. And how they play those. They don't really scheme blitzing and all that. If you look at the Senior Bowl, the East-West, they don't really get too fancy. It's more of let's play mano-a-mano and let's see who's the better. You want
a guy right up in front of the guy so you can see technique and stuff.
Everything, right. So that's how they play it. But this guy started calling blitzes, okay? And why? Because Brandon Jacobs was a big man. And he was running people over. Let me explain to you what times we were in. Brandon Jacobs asked to get transferred out of Auburn. Why did he ask to get transferred out of Auburn? Because they had not one, but 2 running backs. One by the name of Ronnie Brown and the other one by the name of Cadillac Williams. So he was like, wow, dude, I'm not playing here. I'm getting the hell out of here. and I'm going to go to Southern Illinois where I'm going to play for the Salukis, and I'm going to start. So he is having, because he's playing for Southern Illinois, not as many people are watching Southern Illinois as Auburn. So in that all-star game, he's killing it, bro. He's killing it that we're all there like, and during the week, we're like, who the hell is this guy? Like, I never knew anything about Brandon Jacobs. I'm like, what the F is this guy? He's ginormous.
Was this like a Christian Okoye when he hit
But
the
he's
scene?
more athletic than Christian Okoye. If you remember Brandon Jacobs, He could run, he could move, he could motor. Okoye was a big guy, but he wasn't like a bruiser, right? He was a 3 yards in a cloud of dust guy. He's Zonka. He's just a little more modern-day Zonka or something. This guy is a big athlete. Catch the ball, run the ball, whatever you want. But he's so big and so powerful. And we're talking about the Las Vegas Football Classic. It's not the Senior Bowl where it's the top of the college. No, this is like you're in the fourth bowl game. So the level of talent, he's running them over. He's killing. So the defensive coordinator gets pissed. He's starting to blitz. I crap you not. The game ends. The offensive coordinator darts across the field to find the defensive coordinator, and they both get into a fist fight. Never seen that in my life. Like, they're two old guys that can't hit or and they got to separate them and all that. Funny as hell, but let me tell you, the offensive coordinator was livid. Okay? I mean, livid. That was the story of the game. And that's how we found out about Brandon Jacobs. And I remember that, I've always been a fantasy guy. And I will always tell people, hey, if you're in fantasy, go get Brandon Jacobs. I remember that year I told people, get Brandon Jacobs. Get him. The Giants will use him. That guy's going to run the ball. And sure enough, he had a good year. I don't think he was a 1, but he was easily a number 2 fantasy back that year for the next couple of years, actually, because he was one of the big people. They, as much punishment as they deliver, they also receive, and they don't really end up having long careers a lot of times. It's strange like that. You would think those big guys can deliver punishment. The problem is they're taking a lot of, like Cam Newton. It's just, he wants to deliver, but he's taking it too, man. And eventually it wears out. It wears you out. Don't matter who you are. You can be big, strong, and tough and all that. There's always somebody bigger, stronger, and tougher in the NFL, man. It's amazing. It really is. It's a crazy thing. But there you go. There's a little story for you about Brandon Jacobs and Las Vegas. I always remember that. And that, let me tell you something.
That's crazy, man.
What sucks is that they eliminated that bowl game. Because that was the best bowl game out of all to go, man. Because you're going.
Is that about location?
It's in Vegas, bro. You're in Vegas for a couple of days, and can you imagine all the bars there? How you could get lost with NFL people and talk to them? It was great because they weren't all in the one place. Like, you go to Mobile, there's one team hotel, bro. There's not 400. There's one. Indy, at least you go, it's, a pretty decent city. There's several hotels, so it's spread out. You got to walk around. You got to work it to find people, But I loved it in Vegas because you could call somebody, hook up with them somewhere else, and just talk shop, get your info, and nobody was around because it's Vegas. There's 100 hotels, man. Easy to get lost in Vegas. Look at this guy's just dying to go get lost in Vegas. That's all. He can't wait. What else do we have here? A Derrick Henry type. Yes. He was a Derrick Henry type. Derrick's better than him. He's a better pass catcher than Derrick. Derrick's a better running back than him because Derrick's not a great pass catcher. That's the one thing about Derrick Henry that he kind of takes away that element. Like, they'll pass it to him, but it's not really normal that they're going to pass it to. And if they do, it's simply screens. It's not really past the line of scrimmage. There aren't a lot of passes for Henry past the line of scrimmage. So that's where it changes. But this kid Brandon Jacobs, he was a good all around athlete, man. So there you go. David Leshine says Steve Bono. I remember Steve Bono, the quarterback. Yeah, San Fran, Kansas City. What else? Did he play? San Fran, Kansas City. I want to say he might have ended up somewhere else.
God, if I remember correctly, he started the season as the starter, right? And it was like 3 or 4 games, and then that was it.
You might be right. You might be right. But I do remember Kansas City and Minnesota, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Kansas City, Green Bay, St. Louis, and Carolina. I had no idea he played for that many teams. Wow. Minnesota 85 through 86, Pittsburgh 87 through 88, San Fran 89 through 93, KC 94 through 96, Green Bay 97, St. Louis 98, and Carolina 99. By the way, I just read an article where where the city of St. Louis, they've already sold 6,000 season tickets for their XFL team. Because apparently they're really jacked about the XFL because they want to stick it to Stan Kroenke and prove to people that St. Louis is a viable place for an NFL team, which I believe. I mean, Kroenke was a bad owner, and they did a lot of bad things in the Rams for many, many years. While they had that, that run with Warner and the guys and the greatest show on turf, they did a lot of bad things. They did a lot of things that just it didn't work out. So I can see why people are not happy with Kroenke. And here's the other thing that pisses you off about Kroenke that is very John Henry-like. Kroenke cried poor and wanted the city to help him for the stadium and all that stuff. And then when they didn't help out, he then moves the team to Los Angeles, purchases the land, and is now building on his own a $2 billion stadium. John Henry cried poor here, wanted people to build the stadium for him, but then found the money with he and his group to go buy the Red Sox and Nesson. Okay? He didn't just buy the Red Sox. He bought the network. Okay? I mean, Cubs GN, Yankees yes, Nesson, Boston, when you've got that magical combination that it's just not a team, it's also a badass network that comes with it that's going to produce hundreds of millions of dollars too. It's a whole different ballgame. So you came up with the money for that, but in Miami it wasn't good enough. You had to cry poor. That pissed people off about Henry, that he's a phony. So I can understand the people in St. Louis. They are pissed with the way Kroenke has handled things because he handled it piss poorly on the football end for your city, but then for Los Angeles, because it's the number 1, number 2 media market, in the United States, he was willing to spend the money, and obviously he gets the city to himself too. Because trust me, the Chargers aren't going to make an impact at all. They're his tenant. Not only did he get his own stadium and all that stuff, but then he brought in a tenant to also pay for some of that mortgage. I mean, that's amazing. It's fantastic. He's got Dean Spanos, his dumb ass, paying a portion of his mortgage, a large portion probably of his mortgage every month. That's fantastic. And Dean Spanos is such a terrible businessman that he's not going to be like what's going on in Los Angeles, where Steve Ballmer bought the Clippers, has now, brought Jerry West in, brought Doc Rivers, brought in all kinds of talent, and now he has said, I'm looking around going, yeah, dude, no. I can build a better arena than this crap that the Lakers have. I'm going to go do that myself because I want my own identity. Spanos will never do that. So Spanos will be a tool for the rest of his life. Now he's a rich tool. I get it. Still a tool. All right? But I get all of you out there in St. Louis. Not that you're really going to get any revenge with an XFL team. That's not going to happen. But Maybe if you want a power play for Jacksonville, that might be something you want to do. Shad Khan's got some money. He's willing to spend. The only problem is he loves him some London, England. Right? Did Shad Khan bid for Wembley or he owns Wembley? I forgot what it is. I think he wanted to buy it or something. I forgot. But that's how much money that guy's got. But he does have interest over there, overseas. So I don't know if St. Louis would be able to steal it. That's how you stick it to Stan Kroenke. You pull a Browns. That, okay, your guy left with the team. All right. Well, we're going to do this. And we're going to get a team back. But I don't know if that'll ever happen for St. Louis. It's a shame. It really is. All right, it is time to wrap it up here on the program. Another 4 hours of sports talk. We always appreciate you guys keeping it locked here. And it's been a little easier for me these last couple of days. It helps that the cold is going away. It also helps that I'm not doing 7 radio shows in a day. So that's a good thing. So we were able to last now for the entire 4 hours. Always appreciate it. Oh, by the way, wait a minute. I did not give my NBA picks. Come on, man. It's time for NBA picks now. Yesterday, we went 3-2 against the spread. We raised our record to 30-26. We took the over in the Brooklyn-Orlando game. We lost that. We took Indiana -5 against Charlotte. We won that. The Boston-Washington game, lost that. Denver won that. And we got the over in the Chicago-Dallas game of 217, and we won that. All right, so spread tonight. Let's go with our first game. Detroit is favored by 3. Over and under is 215. They are visiting the Cavaliers. Kevin Love is really pissed. He's playing with a bunch of young guys that have no idea how to play the game. He wants out. He wants to get traded. They are frustrated. Denver, Andre Drummond wants to get traded. They want to move him. They're probably going to put Blake Griffin on ice for the rest of the season. Detroit is favored by 3. Cleveland is really bad. Detroit is actually playing half-decent basketball. Bruce Brown, fans, playing well. Lay the 3. Go with the Pistons on the road. Portland, Toronto. Toronto is favored by 2.5. The over and under is 219.5. The problem is, Portland sucks, but I don't know what Portland team shows up. Sometimes they'll give you an effort, and the 2.5 is not enough, and they can make it close and interesting. But Toronto, you know what? They've been kind of banged up lately. They're a team that I can't trust right now. I'm going to stay away from that game. OKC is on the road taking on Brooklyn. Brooklyn's got a bunch of injuries. Kyrie Irving now is saying that he may not be back for months, possibly the rest of the season. We know what you're doing, Kyrie. You're a wuss. You don't want to lead the team on by yourself. You want to wait till Durant comes back so he can be Batman and you can be under his cape and be Little Robin. We get it, bro. We understand. You don't want to flop like you did last year in Boston. You don't want to look like the phony that you are. And by the way, all of you out there that had that discussion with me that he's a superstar, are you done with that stupid-ass argument? Because he's not a superstar. He's an all-star. That's it. Nothing about that guy's superstar. He may have superstar ability, but he's not a superstar. Superstars can carry franchises. I think he proved that he couldn't in Boston. Anybody can make a big shot like he did in Cleveland, okay? John Paxson made a big shot. Doesn't make him a superstar. OKC, favored by 1 against Brooklyn. I'm going to take OKC on the road here, man. Yeah, this is kind of crazy, but OKC's been gritty. They fight. They're young. Brooklyn is inconsistent, not getting it done. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going with Brooklyn on the road, and I'm laying the 1 point in that one. Minnesota and Memphis. The Grizzlies, they are favored by 3.5. The over and under is 228. I can't go with the over and under. It's such a high number that there's no way I can go with the over, and I'm big on overs on totals. I kind of like going that way. Memphis, to give Minnesota 3.5, they're so schizophrenic, I can't do it either. I can't count on either one right now. I'm staying away from that one. Sacramento and Phoenix. Phoenix, favored by 6.5. Sacramento is not a bad club. I actually like Sacramento in this game as the dog. I'm going to take the 6.5 here. I think Rashawn Holmes and the boys will keep it close. Take the dog on the road, Kings plus 6.5. The Knicks and the Lakers. I told you, I like my overs. Knicks, they can score. They're terrible. I get it. But have you watched these young guys? They can actually shoot some. They're not that bad. I mean, they lose, but they actually can score. So, Lakers, I know, are going to score. The line is 13. It's a lot of points, man. I'm afraid the Lakers can get bored at the end of that game and backdoor the Knicks in on that 13. And, you know, they're killing them by 20 or 16 or something like that. And then they rest their guys in the last couple minutes. Knicks get a couple shots and lose by 10 or 11, and you're sitting there pissed off. And you're watching, you know, that guy's segment on ESPN with the bad breaks and all that crap. I'm afraid of that.
Bad beats.
Bad beats. There you go. Over 223.5. Yeah, 223 points and a half. They are going to score 224 or more. I like that one. All right. Those are my 4 bets. I'm going Detroit -3, OKC -1, Kings plus 6.5, and I'm going over 223.5, Knicks, Lakers. Those are my selections in the association. Good luck to all of you out there. Don't blame me if you lose your house, shirt, car, wife, girlfriend, whatever it is you lose. It's not my fault you listened to me. We thank Manny Navarro with our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report. We thank Brian Howell from the Boulder Daily Camera, talking a little Steven Montez in our NFL Draft Focus. Bill, exceptional work by you. John Cassio, getting it done. We appreciate it. Remember, whenever you're listening to the podcast, you can reach out to us. You got a question, got an answer, got a comment, got a criticism, got an insult. There could be a criticism and there could be an insult. Could be 2 different things. Send it in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line 786-322-1105. Follow us on Twitter at Big O Show. Follow us on Instagram, Big O Radio Show. And also subscribe to our YouTube page, Big O Radio Show. And subscribe to this podcast all over the place. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, Big O Radio Show. Be good out there. We love you for keeping it locked here.
Have a good one.